Hi, Andy. Thank you for accepting this interview. And once again, I welcome you for this interview, Andy. Thank you
Well,
very
thank
much.
you.
So, friends, let me introduce you all. Here is Andrew Bryce, and in short, we call him Andy. So, Andy has been working with personal growth, well being, and emotional resilience for over 30 years now. For the last 15 years, his primary toolkit has been emotional freedom techniques. He was certified by the founder of EFT, Gary Craig, as one of the only 28 EFT master practitioners worldwide in 2006. So, he is the past director of training for Amet International and has trained practitioners in Belgium, France, Italy, Canada, USA, Australia, Greece, and the United Kingdom as a trainer of trainers. He's also very excited about adding MBIT coaching certification to his list of tools. So here is Andy for us. So Andy, here is my first question to you. How did you get into EFT?
Well, it was actually 20 years ago this year. It was 2000. I had injured my neck in 1993, and I was still in pain. I moved like this, and there was no surgery to be done, and um, I didn't want to take the medication every day for pain, so um, someone contacted me about this emotional freedom techniques, and at that time you could download the manual, and I tried it out and was so impressed because most of the pain went away right away. I had a very sharp sort of like point, like ice pick vein, and a deep ache down my arm, and the ice pick went away first time I tried EFT, and I was like, maybe this works. And then I started to work with the idea that I'm usually or almost always under a physical problem or illness or pain, there is an emotion there. And as I worked with those, I've basically been pain-free for 20 years now, and I have, pretty good movement.
Excellent.
So
Nice.
that convinced me, and so I just said, this is what I want to do, and started spending time with Gary Craig and whatever workshops I could go. In 2003, I was his demonstration client in Flagstaff, Arizona, with the borrowing benefits. And that was what promoted me to create my first website and get out there. And so I've been tapping every day for 20 years.
Oh my God. That's awesome. And Andy, you're one of the 28 EFT founding masters. So, who is the founding master? What is this all about?
Okay, well, in 2004, 2005, Gary decided that he didn't like to travel. He wasn't going to go around the world, and he thought, well, maybe we could have people that would teach EFT and do the traveling um, uh, instead of him. But he wanted to feel that the quality of the teaching would be good, and so he created this program and had Ann Adams do the practical. So they basically what we had to do was it wasn't like, you know, a weekend where you go and you spend time and someone tells you something and you get your certificate. We had to demonstrate what we knew and show them that we'd been working with the EFT for 3 to 5 years, that we had an expertise with it. So approximately, from what I understand, about half the people who applied to that certification got in, and about 75% finished it. I think actually 33 people were the total people who completed, but 3 either chose to or were asked to leave it, so that was 30. And now 2 of those people have passed away, so there's 28. It took me a year and a half, and we had to work in front of 100 or so people with a client and with Gary and Anne, and also write an exam, which for me was around 31 pages.
Oh my God.
You know, just being able to prove that we knew what reframing and, you know, various components. So I was one of, I was living in Canada. I'm Canadian and a dual citizen as British as well. But at the time, and still, there's only 2 Canadians who are founding masters, David Rourke and I.
Awesome, awesome. And Andy, could you please share something about surrogate tapping and your experience with it?
Yeah. Well, if we think that you know, I feel that we're all connected at some level, and so we can offer support to another person. I think one thing to be clear about is that it's not going to be effective if it's something I want. You know, I want you to like me. So even though you don't like me, I really want you to like me. So that's not going to work. But for someone who has some kind of issue, you can either, you know, in the best way you can, whether it's with a photograph or connecting with them and sending them your best energy to assist them. And so you can do tapping. I don't always do a setup statement now, and that'll be something I think is useful to talk about if we have time. But yeah, I think surrogate tapping for pets, for people, especially now where we can't travel, and that could go in connect with the M-braining as well, because, you know, we have the intellect, creative brain, the compassionate heart brain, and the gut, because the gut has about 500 million neurons in the entire gut. So a lot of people have gut feelings, and there's a basis to trust that.
Yes.
So anything else about surrogate tapping?
So any one case study would you like to share where you have experimented with surrogate tapping and you remember?
You know, I haven't done anything with it for quite some time, but I'm also a Reiki master.
Oh, okay.
So when I focus on sending the energy and tapping to do that, Yeah, nothing comes to mind around that other than that I use it to support people while they're
Support
going
people.
through anxiety or depression,
Mhm.
just to hopefully offer them a bit of a lift. So, but
Yeah.
nothing specific. I
Specific.
didn't have anybody get up and walk. So.
Okay, okay, okay. That's fine, Andy. And Andy, psychological reversal is the concept we tend to hear, especially in the EFT trainings and the manuals. So, what is this all about, and how important is it to work on psychological reversal of a person to get better results?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we've always been committed to is teaching the original
Mhm.
uh, EFT that Gary created. And um, so psychological reversal is the concept that what we are stating we're not connected to. So we might have a secondary gain. It could be
Mhm.
considered a secondary gain, like I'm getting something out of my pain. I get attention, um, so that we could, when I'm working with someone who's dealing with anxiety or anger, um, I want to find out, like, does it serve them? Some people feel like if they're not anxious, then they don't get anything done.
Mhm.
And in their anger, or if their anger is there, they may be righteous about it. Like, yeah, if I give up my anger, then I let them off the hook. So we have a number of ways of uh, where we could actually not want to let go of what we perceive as a problem. And so the reversal was something that Gary didn't invent, but took in and accounted for. So we thought, well, we will account for that by the tapping in the statement. Uh, and for, I would say, the last 10 or 12 years, um, the people that, you know, what I would say were the top trainers have not really accounted that as very meaningful. I mean, we include it in the training so you understand that it could happen, but Gary did this to account for it on every tapping, and it's just not something that's going to happen to everyone. So um, I wouldn't think that it's happening all the time, although 15 years ago I might have been prepared for that and using it, but it's not something that happens all the time.
Okay, okay. And Andy, you are into law of attraction as well. So, combining EFT with law of attraction, what is your experience?
Well, what I found is that, and working through my own experience of, childhood, uh, there I had a bit of trauma, made me feel like I wasn't important and I wasn't worthy. So, I've observed how we make decisions based on what we think we deserve. And so I tend to think that the law of attraction is basically saying that the universe is abundant and infinite, so that it isn't selfish to take and accept your best result. Um, and I think that my impression is that the universe is beneficent. It's generous and unlimited. So it has to be me that is creating this little narrow spot for the good to come in. So I look at how in a generic way, but also in a very specific way, to see how an individual might be limiting their own benefits by their decisions, by their beliefs. Generally, we have, my parents were English, grew up, served in World War II in the Air Force, and moved to Canada where I was born. But they took their living on rations and scarcity and poverty, and they took that with them, and I grew up with those things. So I had to kind of, is this my thought, or is this what I took on from my parents? So I work with the kind of things around in the law of attractions. What am I believing to be true? Is it something that I was taught? In which case, we know then we can work on it as mom's voice or dad's voice or my teachers or my religious teachers. And what have I decided? Because as a child, we watch everything. We're absorbing everything, and if we don't have a time to actually, or someone with an adult perspective, if we don't have that person to talk to and understand things, we'll make up our own mind. And if you're 5 or 9, you'll make a decision about, well, nothing. I never get what I want. So then I bury that into my unconscious, and then so with NLP we think about you have a belief, and then you filter for evidence to prove that belief. So you delete, distort, and generalize to prove what you already believe. And that will play a large portion in what we believe we can have. We might ask for something, but we don't believe we can have it. So I work with tapping to bring that, to discover that, bring down the emotional charge on it, and then reframe it into, and I can have more than I thought I had in the past. And it generally helps people improve their results in getting what they want. So it can be in their work, it can be in relationships, and just being willing to be loved. So that's a brief.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. It gave a fair idea on how you combine EFT, NLP, and law of attraction to see where is this limiting belief originating from. It could be my parents' voice, it could be teachers' voice, or any authoritative figures, and how EFT helps to calm down and change the belief. Thank you. Thanks a lot about that, Andy.
Okay. All right.
And Andy, you have developed your own methods. So could you please brief about your
well, in 1986, I had been initiated into energy healing and also some Reiki. So I really feel the energy that we are, that we are not just physical forms. So I created a body work where I was recognizing that sometimes we push down emotion, and emotion is an electrical energy. So if we push it down, it's as in physics, it has weight and takes up space, and it's in our some would call it the Maya, but we're all making it up. But I think we live on 4 octaves. Octaves arrange it like a piano keyboard. There's the physical octave where we vibrate, everything vibrates in physicality, emotions, thought, and pure life force or chi or prana. And So if we can work, if we're working on the physical, we're actually trying to repair something. But if we're working on anything higher than that, it hasn't actually manifested into physical life. So if we can find the thinking, find the beliefs, then often we can tap around before something has happened. We can also work on transforming and opening the flow of energy through the body, which is basically what tapping does. Is it restores the flow when we have a thought that is unpleasant or disruptive. It disrupts the flow of chi or prana in the body, and by working on the more subtle levels of that, we can have it moving even when times are not good. We can continue that, which helps us to make better decisions, so we're not repairing physical life, we're manifesting it the way we want it to begin with. So for a number of years, I went around, I traveled doing the body work. But now what I've found is if we're conscious of being more than just our body and not our minds, then we can stop believing every thought we have, and we can look at those and adjust them. So the big thing around the M-braining, which is the three brains, head brain, which we think of as creative, the heart brain, the compassion and passionate belief in things, and the gut brain. The thing for me that this really shifted was I had good ideas. I was really excited about them. And then my gut would say, no, I don't feel safe to be, try these out in the world and be criticized. And because I was never afraid of physical harm, but I never wanted to be rejected. And that was a fear for me. So when I realized that was my gut, I was listening to this and this, but not my gut. So I started to bring energy to the dantian, to the second chakra, bringing and building the fire and the trust and including my gut into decisions. Things started to change. And well, I guess I feel like a better man now than I ever have. And in 2 weeks, I'll be 71. So I'm feeling, pretty young for that.
Seriously? 71?
Yes, on the 15th.
Oh my God. You don't look so.
Well, I don't know if I feel that, but I think that having tapped every day for 20 years and faced my fears and committed to helping people face theirs in a safe way. That's one of the things I think is important to understand about EFT, is that we can be patient and we can take care of people's fears in a way that's safe and at the pace that they can go. I think that's one of the things I've found, that some people in whatever practice they have, including EFT, is that they're excited. They want the client to have a result, and they might push. So it's and that's not helpful. So being patient and finding where the place to start with this person, I think that's a very important thing, because I have clients from other practitioners that didn't get a result or whatever, and they say they feel like they're being heard, and being heard and accepted as I am has been one of my best feedback. Someone says, I never felt heard and accepted like this before. And I think that's a healing in itself.
So true, Andy. Like, after the EFT session, when I ask my clients, like, what is the takeaway? They say that I was not judged. I was not, you know, hesitating to share more than EFT, more than anything else. At least I got an opportunity to share what was going inside. So,
Yeah,
as you said, sometimes only listening could be therapeutic.
exactly. But it's creating that environment where that person who has what they judge to be a problem, and
Yes.
they feel they can trust you to share it. And that, to me, I don't know if you can teach that. That's something you have or you don't have it. um, and maybe that's what attracts people to EFT, because it sort of fosters that. But
Yes.
well done. I congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
An
Thank you.
important
Thank you,
part.
Andy. And Andy, how did your results change after adding embraining, coaching with your results into your sessions?
Well, I think how it's shifted really is just simply understanding that that I'm looking for what the three different brains. Now we may have more, but we're for three main things. What we're talking is, I think, the gut senses, and if we have a belief that life is not safe from childhood, if we've had trauma or narcissistic parents, or something that has caused us to have anxiety, it's the gut. And there are a number of things that IBS, colitis, Crohn's, these things can be either caused or exacerbated by fight or flight. And so a child can feel constantly in fear. So we call that freeze. So it's not full flight, and there's no one to fight, but the gut is not being energized, and there's no flow through it. So it can't operate as powerfully. Also, so that can trigger what choices we make. We could have frustration because I have these great ideas, but it's not safe to do it, or I'm always ill, so I don't have to go out there. And it's really informed me how powerful the basic feeling of safety, because your head is like all over the place, and 70,000 thoughts a day.
A day, yes.
and then emotions come and go. So you can't base your life on that. But if your gut is feeling like, we can do this and it's safe, then everything else begins to work. So I've found that if I can, it's important for me to discover from that person how they feel about being seen, being heard, and are they safe? And the setup phrase was always something for me. If someone can't say, I deeply and completely accept myself, now I have to work on, there shows me a place to start. They don't even accept it.
Okay.
And they're not going to accept a healing or heal themselves. So there is with embraining, there's forms and a way of dealing with things. It's what I took from it. It was more the concept and the understanding of how our brains work together, or what happens when they don't.
Yes. Awesome. So, for the EFT practitioners to um, improve their skills and get better results for their clients, do you suggest any book readings?
Um, I would say there's a lot out there. Most of the training, I guess Carl Dawson's matrix reimprinting is an interesting combination of timeline therapy and so they speaking, having the child tap.
Yes.
And I don't use it all the time. But also there's Steve Wells in Australia is come up with a thing called intention tapping, which I think is worthy. So anything you can research or find about what Steve is doing. I think it's EFT Down Under.
Mm-hmm. EFT, there is one upcoming interview scheduled with Steve very soon.
Well,
Yeah.
he is one of my best friends in the world, and
Okay.
and Brad Yates, where I've known them since 2003 for Steve, and we met at the Borrowing Benefits, and I've done workshops with both of them, co-presented, and so we used to sort of feature our different styles. And my style is more about now, especially over the last 10 years, talking and tapping. It's just having the person talking and tapping while they're describing the issues, and then following where their mind goes, where it takes them, and rather than trying to say the right thing and do the right thing. It's let's create the flow back and forth. And
Okay.
so I would say Steve is doing some cutting edge stuff with this intention tapping. You can tell him I said that.
Yeah, sure. I'll tell Steve that, Andy has suggested about this intention tapping. Please tell me more about it.
Yeah, right. Good. I mean,
Yeah.
he'll buy me a beer next time.
Sure. Yeah. And Andy, apart from books, what do you think the practitioners to get better results is it the technique, is it being mindful and going with the flow, like you just said, going with the flow? So how can we be more how to produce better results for the clients? What are your observations and suggestions?
Well, getting a good grounding in the techniques, really understanding the movie technique and the tearless trauma techniques, and understanding that, by gently bringing people to the issue but not pushing them into it. I just had a client who had a terrible car accident a year and a half ago, and she tried psychiatric, like a CBT, and it just made it worse. And so we had 6 sessions, and she said it was totally different, and that she felt safe to talk about it, and we didn't go plunging it, tell me about that. So it was really I think once you have the skills, and then you practice so that you're not thinking, oh, I need to do this, or it's time for that,
Yes.
or we're now going to, when you begin to flow with things, then your mind can be more with them. And so you're, what I've found is quite often, practitioners who have had traumatic childhoods are really good therapists.
Oh, okay.
Because to survive their childhood, they had to read everybody. They had to know, what, so they pick up the facial expressions, body language. And so they're very good at reading what's going on with the other person. They need to release their own pain and get through that, so it's not being triggered. But you don't have to have had a wonderful life to be a good therapist. Having conquered your own problems often gives you the confidence and the humility, being humble to be present with someone and honor their pain, and take the time it takes, and bring your heart. I sense that you do that, that you bring an open heart to your sessions, and that's why you're getting people saying that they feel heard and accepted. And that's something that I'll say this: there's content and context. So the data, the training, and everything that you do is your content. But how you create, what you make the feeling, is the context. And the context of your sessions, if it is infused with safety and acceptance and mutual respect and compassion, those kind of qualities create the context and the arena that a person feels safe to talk about anything. And the other thing I think is important is a sense of humor.
Yes.
To point out things and see the irony of it, and to laugh at the thing, not the person.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Andy. That was, so nice of you sharing, as you come with uh, huge wealth of experience, and it is like a good way to connect all these EFT experts through these interview series, and I'm sure audience from India are going to get more benefited from this conversation. And I'm really grateful for you to have answered all these questions with a lot of patience and to share your journey with us. Thank you very much once again, Andy. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored.
Thank you very much.